In this video, we strive to remain spoiler-free, discussing only story and plot elements from the books relevant to what has occurred already on the show. When necessary, a spoiler warning with a countdown will be given.
Hi, I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, the YouTube show that reviews adaptations from one format to another. We're continuing with our original show, The Wheel of Time, Season 2 this time, Episode 205. But you'll notice we have a guest. Welcome, Leia. How are you doing?
I am so excited to talk about this episode.
And it's not The Expanse. That's a first. We've got you on for something better. So, it's been a while. Have you been doing well?
Yes, very well. Very busy. If I make weird faces, by the way, it's because I got a new kitten and he's off in the corner making weird noises. He dumped a plant earlier, so there's just a lot of dirt. I think that's what he's doing. I hope that's what he's doing.
Let's hope.
But anyways, weird faces is not for any of the comments for that, or maybe they will be, but I will make a verbal comment.
You guys just had an anniversary, if I remember correctly.
We did on Threefold Talk 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was our 2-year anniversary. So.
Yeah, 1 week ago tonight was our 1-year anniversary, or 2-year anniversary. Ooh. We're like 5 days younger than you guys, I think.
September is a great month for birthdays and anniversaries.
It seems like.
Yeah, my wife's birthday was yesterday, and Dovey's is today.
Happy birthday, Dovey.
And mine is at the end of the month. So
there you go.
I have that noted. So we're talking episode 205 of The Wheel of Time, Damane, directed by Maya Vervillo, I'm thinking, and written by Rohit Kumar. I didn't look up what they've got behind them. I'm not Max. I'm not the guy in the chair. That's his job. Sorry. What did you guys think of this one?
I loved it. I mean, honestly, this felt more like The Wheel of Time than any other episode, I think, in the entire series. This felt like The Wheel of Time.
First episode felt really Wheel of Time, but that was Trollocs. That was Trollocs. I like this episode. Yeah, big surprise. I do like this episode. It's a big step up from what I've seen so far this season. There's still an episode or two in season 1 that I like better than this, namely an episode I originally hated. So, you know, I really hated season 1, episode 5, but when I first saw it,
I love that episode.
It's now my favorite episode of the show still to this day.
It's very traumatizing.
That it is.
I think it sets the standard for the warder bond and losing an Aes Sedai or a warder, how it affects each other. Mm-hmm. We see Moraine go through it, so that's why I love that episode.
Yeah, I love that episode.
For people who never read the books, that's going to be hard to pick up exactly what that bond means.
Mm-hmm.
And see, it's a perfect example, though, of how I might hate it when I first talk about it on the show, but a year later, I'm like, you know what? I don't hate it anymore. You know, and as a matter of fact, it's, like I said, it's my favorite episode of the show. And this episode's pretty good, too, I think. It's just not nearly as good as that one, but... So...
There's a lot of information given. So, like, even as a book reader, because I know that they're deliberately changing things. So it's like, oh, there's a massive information dump. So, like, give me all this information so I know, like, how this world is functioning as opposed to the book world. So in doing expectation management. So that's one thing that I was just like geeking out so hard over.
Yeah, I kind of squeed when Moraine said Tel'aran'rhiod. I kind of
right?
A little bit.
And she said it correctly too. That was what I really liked hearing.
I mean, name dropping the Forsaken. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, and that's always been a big question: is which Forsaken are we getting? So and then I think he said like and the boys. So he didn't even like say all the dudes Forsaken. It's just like and the boys.
That reminds me.
Yeah.
On Twitter today, somebody asked Sarah Nakamura, they were like, did you put that in there? Because it had me cracking up. And Sarah Nakamura said, well, that's what I used to call my brothers when I was telling on them to my mom. So let's just say that and leave it at that.
That's hilarious. I love it.
And the boys was probably added by her.
And it was so accurate describing the male Forsaken.
True.
So totally accurate.
Mm-hmm. Like the women are the female Forsaken are very individual characteristics in the books, and the guys are just like, I'm gonna go like fight and be a general, even though their background, like they all have very individual pre-Dark Friend backgrounds. Once they become dreadlords / for eventually chosen Forsaken, they just basically like want to outdo each other and be the general.
Like, I'm mad at the dragon because he's taller than I am. It's like, shut up, dude. Come on.
And that was like 2 or 3 of them that had that. You know?
Yeah.
It's too many of them. It just
their
motivations.
Oh, that was so gross. Sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry, the kitten just pooped and it's really stinky.
Do you want to take a second and clean it up?
No, it's fine. Keep going. It just hit
me up. Sorry.
It's good. I gave you guys the warning at the beginning.
I know. Just that face you made. I'm like, oh my God.
That was funny. Sorry. Not trying to laugh.
But that is not a reflection of the show. The show is not crap.
I know.
Like your eyes are watering. I feel
it.
bad for you.
Oh man, you really sure you don't need to clean that up for real quick?
Yeah,
we can take a minute. I can edit around this. This isn't live. I can edit.
I know. I think it's kind of funny, so we keep going.
Okay. So, of all the changes from the source material, what are some that you enjoyed and some that you didn't enjoy? Start with you, Bill.
I enjoyed getting a glimpse of the true power early. You know, I love that. We got the saw in last episode and Landfair's eyes, and we sort of got to see one of the aspects of, you know, possibly self-healing you can't do with the one power.
Right.
You can't heal yourself. So I love that, adding a little background and lore and danger to the Forsaken. Really okay with that. Okay, this Barthanis's hair drove me crazy. Can I say that? That hairstyle, what are you doing? Pick a style, man. He had 3 different hairstyles going on at once, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like looking at it. It is annoying.
Speaking of hair, though,
honestly,
this
I only have little complaints.
Her hair is just fantastic. It just
she's fantastic.
She is. That's why I've got her sitting over my shoulder. Mira Ciala's Baron is just great. But if you want to bring up hair, well, at least Barthanes is balanced out by her
hair. I don't know,
Maybe.
man. You can't 1-to-1 that. I don't know what that was, man. He had 3 different hairstyles in one. It was permed on one side, parted, and half a ponytail in the back. I'm like, what do you pick a style? What were they doing his hair halfway and stop?
Yeah, just nobles to do whatever they want to do.
Right.
Yeah. You know, as far as changes I didn't like, okay. Would I have loved if Gaul would have been in the cage? Absolutely. Am I okay with it being Aviendha? Yes, 100% I am okay with it. It doesn't break the story. It doesn't mean Gaul can't come in later as a character. Right. We're just getting introduced to the Maidens of the Spear earlier, which I think is a good idea. So it's not a change I disliked, but I would have liked to see Gaul, or at least had him mentioned, maybe.
Stone Dogs. All. What about you, Leah?
I really enjoyed the Landfear-ishy, like pseudo verbal sex scene Because you see in the books, you see them in Riyadh talking to each other frequently, but it's always adversarial, whether regardless of it being from a first person perspective or a third person perspective. I loved their dynamic, the information that was given, the weird, creepy stuff about Rand, like they're both crushing on Rand apparently, but not
Seems
really.
like it.
And like Rand's just sitting there like, who's gonna take me now?
He did have a pretty smug look on his face.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed that scene so much. Again, like I said earlier, the data dump that was given, the old tongue discussions, like back and forth between common and old tongue. There were I honestly don't think that there was anything in this episode adaptation wise that I didn't like. And that I'm frustrated with the Elias dynamic, but like I understand why they did it, and I don't dislike it from an adaptation perspective. I'm just frustrated. I'm always frustrated with the parent POVs and timelines. So this is just kind of a continuation for me of being like, come on, Perrin, do something. Like, come on, Elias, help Perrin do something. So
you mentioned the old tongue. You mentioned the old tongue. And the first 2 times I watched it, I didn't even realize he was speaking in the old tongue, because I watch everything with subtitles, closed captions on, and I'm so used to the words pop up, my eyes immediately read it while I'm listening to them, and I'm back watching them. And so I didn't even compute that I'm not hearing English. The subtitles were done in the exact same font style. So you couldn't tell the difference. Usually when there's like a translation subtitle, it looks different than the closed captions. And it didn't look different and I was like, so I saw subtitle, and that's what my brain processed for what he was saying.
Another annotation that it was a different language.
No, not when Ishii started talking in the old tongue, at least not that I remember seeing. And it was just like, it was like the second or third watch through, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just pulled a Met, did not even realize, and the old tongue's being spoken, and I can't wait for that.
I love the fact that he's complaining about the world being so backwards. I'm like, are you forgetting you're the one who's been hopping through history, screwing it up along the way, buddy?
Good point.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
I can't really say I disliked any changes. The closest, like you, Bill, is the whole it being Aviendha instead of Gaul, and that's only a concern because they really better have her feeling some, being conflicted and having a problem when she has to leave Perrin, because obviously she's not going to be sticking next to Perrin's side like Gaul does in the books. She can't. She's got stuff she has to do as Aviendha. So that's my only concern.
It's definitely going to be interesting how all the characters end up, or if they're just throwing out some of those timeline things. Because obviously we always pair Aviendha with first Egwene, then Elaine. Like those are 2 very important. And then at some point she has to fall in love with Rand. Although I did love her sassing Perrin.
That was
awesome.
Oh my God. It was so funny.
I would not be opposed to it though. And then she starts
and
laughing.
Then he's all like,
and he's like, what the fuck just happened?
he looked so uncomfortable.
He was so uncomfortable. And she was so delighted with like, I made a joke. It was exquisite.
That was good.
Yeah, quintessential IL joke.
One thing that did bother me was they were right there. Tuon's mill is right by the water. And I'm like, and Avi didn't freak out about the water. That a little bit, I'm like, okay, she should have been uncomfortable with the water. They should have made that come across that much water made her a little uncomfortable.
Gotta
Maybe
wonder if
that'll
there's...
come across in
But
later.
it's a nitpick. It's a nitpick. I have to
Well-
nitpick at the episode to find things. So that's a good thing.
Is
Well,
that
and
a
maybe
location in the
she's
books?
already freaked out enough and she's been there and she's just like, all right, there's a big body of water. I already had my freak out. Because when you see the Wonder Girls, the first time you really meet Aviendha and Bane and Shia in the books. No, not Bane and Shia.
Yeah,
Aviendha
Bane
and the couple of
Bane
other
and Chiat are
maidens.
with them. Bane and Chiat are
They
with that
are
group.
okay. I always get confused which
Dragon
ones are where.
Reborn.
So they're not necessarily immediately freaking out about the water. They're like more concerned because they've seen the water, they've already swam across it, and then eventually they're just like, express it, like they're just like conversationally, and it comes out like, oh yeah, no, that's kind of freaky.
What if that's how the White Cloaks caught her? She was standing there in awe of the giant water,
Or
and that's how a
trying to
group
like
of them.
figure out how to assemble a raft, like a really makeshift raft to get. Oh my
Right.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, what if that's how they got her? I like that.
And then completely, because she was just so befuddled by the water that of course she was out of her elements. And
I
that
like
would
that.
be the only way the clanky White Cloaks would get her.
And it still cost them, what, 7 men and 11 others who were injured.
Right.
I love that.
That was some nice choreography. That was definitely some
Oh.
good choreography.
That fight scene.
Oh,
was
the
clutch.
mixture of different fighting styles was great. There was some actual Brazilian jiu-jitsu in there.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, she did arm bars. She was doing
Yep.
wrist locks. I mean, it was really well
I
done.
did notice those. I just didn't necessarily associate those with Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
So, I'm going to tie into this one. How well did the show interpret the appearance and nature of costumes, props, and scenery and the such, both practical and VFX? The reason why I'm tying it into here is because the scene that we're just briefly mentioning, the fight scene, really, really teased me with something. We got to see a nice, shiny, pretty axe. And not exactly how it's described in the book. It's a little bit smaller, but, it's also more realistic than anything we ever saw on the covers for the books, with Perrin. But I'm liking the way things are looking this episode. There's still one design complaint that and I'm not even going to bring up the
hold
one.
on.
I'm not going to bring
hold
that
on.
one up.
Everybody get ready for Glenn's traditional Waygate rant. And
Not
go.
even the one I have some disappointment in is, and I'm probably the only one out there. I don't care for the helmets on the Shan Chan.
Really?
Yeah.
On the warriors or
the warriors, yeah. The whole insect thing that Surath has it on her headpiece, and that really should be on the soldiers. And it's just one of those design things that
It's not practical though for your foot soldiers.
Yeah, I was gonna say hers is very much more ornamental looking.
Yeah. But I have
would
seen
not hold up.
There's a blacksmith on YouTube who made a Shan Chan helmet that looked great. It matches the description given in the books. And something even close to that would have been preferable to this creepy ass monster. Yes, it is a creepy helmet, but I just don't see why they felt they needed to change what the helmet looked like.
Because it looks scary and intimidating.
I think it could have still looked scary and
teeth.
intimidating.
It's like a living voodoo doll face coming after you, man. It's creepy.
It is creepy. I give it that. But I don't know. I just think that the insectoid thing would have been just as creepy. Especially when you have a horde of them coming at you.
I really think it fits better with the nobility as opposed to, those of the blood as opposed to your foot soldiers. Because like I say, it's not practical to run in something that has, antenna or mandibles.
I did like seeing a whole bunch of other blood, members of the blood when that was cool. Not something I ever remember.
Nail chop.
Oh, that was, yeah. So, what did you think of the designs and the appearances and stuff like that? And what did you think of the music?
I'm loving the music, the very Nordic style, like the vocalizations. It's very different than a lot of and that's what I associate with. I don't know if that was the intention of the composers to like um take from what I think, like watching Viking, like it
Right.
sounds very
Very
Nordic.
high lung.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm loving it, and it seems to fit. It's just off kilter enough from what we consider a lot of our high fantasy shows, and so it's taking you like half a step out of the expectation of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, some of these other popular fantasy movie and shows, and it's just very oh, it just and it gets me. It like and it's very thematic. They've been able to continue it with different types of riffs all the way through. Like different sounds, but it's all continual. Um,
I love that they put in these sound cues. You'll know you're on the Chan with the way the music hits and you get
mhm.
that fade sort of
Oh,
in and out
exactly
of
like
that
they did
choir.
in
I
Star
love that.
Wars, one of all of our favorite series, but you know Darth Vader's coming because you hear, or you know it's Skywalker, or you know it's the Rebels
Yep.
because they've got all their individual sound cues.
Everybody's got, yep.
I've had
And
Avienda's theme on repeat, so
I'm not
Nice.
surprised. I even noticed they only did a note or two of it, but you hear just the start of Padden Fane's whistling when
yeah,
he
Mhm.
steps
as he
out
walks
with
up,
the
yeah,
horn. Man, that man has one heck of a strut when he comes walking up.
he
Just this
does.
little hop to that step. I'm like,
I think they're making the villains way better. So like the Forsaken are absolutely more terrifying. Especially with Lanfear literally coming back from life after being stabbed through the heart and her throat
yeah,
slit. They're slowly introducing the Forsaken, so like they're just seeming to be more effective. And I know that's one of the big criticisms of the book is you've got these big bad scaries that don't really do a whole hell of a lot. So like they do cause a lot of damage and catastrophe and chaos, but they're really not super effective. So right
no,
now, they're not doing a lot, but they seem very scary. And Paddin Fane is terrifying. Um,
Well, especially since he seems to be slipping the Dark One's control. I mean, I think we got that in episode 1 of the season when he takes off
oh, yeah,
the
he
hood to
already
the
doesn't
little
give a fuck.
girl. He
yeah,
doesn't care. He's nailing fades to the door. It's like, all right, here we go. He gives Ishi that look after he hands him the horn. Ishi nods at him and he just looks at him and gives him this
He's so
"I will eat
smug.
your children" look that is horrifying. So
Hmm.
I love him. I mean, when I read him in the book, I definitely want to take a shower after every chapter from his POV.
Hmm.
mm-hmm,
But he seems so much more alive on the show, almost
He's
like he has a swagger to his evil.
yeah, and
It's
yeah, we've talked about other people that we had ideas for as Padden Fane, but Johann Myers is just. I can't call him out for like a specific episode like this episode. I couldn't put him as one of my top actors for the episode, but just the personification he's pulled off as Padden Fane so far is so much better than I think any of the people I had considered could have
oh yeah.
done. So I'm really happy with that.
yeah,
Um,
I love the way this episode looked. I love the music, and if you have the soundtrack is out now, you should check it out. It is absolutely beautiful. Lauren Balfe, thank you again. Not that you'll see this, but thank you.
so what is a scene or a sequence of scenes that you most remember, enjoyed, or hated? And or hated? I don't hate any episodes this or any scenes this episode, um,
Mm.
which is different than last week. And if I had been on the week before, it would have been different. But this was the first episode this season where I didn't hate any scenes. Like I said, I like this episode. But I think my favorite stuff was probably the fight scene. You know, Aviendha kicking White Cloak ass, and Perrin jumping in there with a sledgehammer. At least that's what it looked like he picked up. I couldn't make it out. I didn't try to pause it to catch a good
Yeah,
look.
it did look like some type of hammer because he definitely didn't have an axe. When I think that dichotomy between Dane Bornhold having the axe and him picking up the hammer, it was very reflective of the books. I thought that was a nice, subtle call out to the hammer and the axe scenario.
See, I loved all the parent scenes with Dane because it laid so many seeds for next season. There are little drops. Oh, that looks like Two Rivers work. He calls them Two Rivers, tells them, you know, don't mess with the Aiel in the cage.
But
What
see-
are you? I mean, all of this stuff is just
Slightly disobeying orders by giving Aviendha water.
Yeah.
yeah.
This Dane's too likable, I think.
He's hot. Can we say he's hot? Because he's hot.
He is
Like,
hot.
why-
Oh my god.
I'm
he
making
is
Dane
so
hot, man. I'm kind of
Yes,
mad.
make him say
He
he's
shouldn't
hot.
be likable at all. You know,
Why
it's
are
like
all
they
these bad guys? Leander's
did that with
hot.
they did that with Aram too last season. They made
did it with
Aram.
Aram. Hot.
Aram was
Like,
probably the most charming character in the entire season last year.
I'm
well, 2
gonna
years
be
ago.
devastated when we have to start hating them.
Right?
I think Bornhold is going to take a sort of south turn on his attitude and everything after this season, given certain events.
Yeah.
His attitude is going to change. His drinking habits are going to change.
I was just gonna ask, do you think we're gonna see a
Well-
lush?
Yeah, a little bit. He's
That'll
going to
be
be
interesting if
mourning
they
and grieving. So
to carry on with that because they've
Oh,
already
that's
obviously
definitely
made the
spoiled.
connection between him and his father.
Yep.
did you notice certain ways he moved and everything matched up with season 1? Because I went back and watched the episode with his father in it. They had certain body movements. I swear he watched that and mimicked them.
Oh,
That's
wow.
cool.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah, just when he was talking to Volda, certain ways he pitched his head and other stuff. I went back and watched the other one. I'm like, they kind of look alike and they kind of move alike. It's a little
Nice.
weird.
Huh.
Before you start thinking Dane came off too good, let's not forget he did order everyone to attack at once, and then he stood there and watched them get their asses beat.
Yeah, and you notice they didn't attack him at once when he signaled. 2 made a move and the others stood back.
So yeah, before you start thinking he's too good, they left
He
a
was
clue
too
that he's not.
likable. He was too
everything.
likable. You know, just for Dane. Dane was the very first moment we meet Dane, he's an arrogant prick. When we meet him in Barrelon, before we even meet, know anything about the Children of the Light, he's an arrogant little shit.
And I do think that arrogance does come off. It's just the context is very different. So he's not chiding Rand and Matt like he does in the books, and then gets like a whole bunch of barrels run at him.
Right.
He's still kind of like, oh, I know what your accent is, and like I'm gonna make all these assumptions, and he's definitely trying to like get information out of Aaron.
He's not paranoid enough though, because he never gets Perrin's name, and he still arranges for Perrin to have a room.
Yeah, but
Do you
you're
know-
saying that is
I feel like he's doing that to spite the questioners, not to
Okay.
be a
That's a good
douchebag.
reason.
'Cause he definitely is razzing back at Eamon Valda, and he kind of gets under Eamon Valda's skin a little bit.
he
And,
does,
and Eamon
especially with
Val-
the wolf comment.
Oh yeah, and then Eamon
That
Valda
was-
comes. Oh yeah, and like Valda's got his hand,
Arm in
which
a
I
sling.
loved, because you never see follow through with, or you infrequently see follow through with major injuries like that, especially on
Right.
TV shows. So the fact that there was follow through, that he had been like massively stabbed by
Right.
Egwene and had this, his hands in a sling, but then he Bornhold gets under Valda's skin, and that's when Valda comes back and kind of loses his cool a little bit. He's like, you're not always going to have your daddy to protect you. Which is where we get that interesting subcontext line that's Bornhold and Bornhold.
Right.
For anybody, for the non-book readers, like we all know,
right.
We are assuming that those two are connected, but to have that actual, again, this episode just had so much information.
The introduction of Giotto. I mean,
yeah. And what do you guys? Speaking of, I like the accents I'm hearing so far, on everybody, and I liked it, and it came to mind tonight when we were listening to Anael speak for the first time. That was cool, but there were so many naysayers for so long about a Southern accent for the Sean Chan, but when what's her name, Alwyn or something like that, the voice, when she started talking, Alwyn. I was just like, oh, that's perfect.
Well, they didn't overdo it, and I think that helps.
Right. But one thing you'll notice when everybody would make fun of the idea, especially Texan accents for the Sean Chan, people don't do an accent, they do a dialect, because they throw in howdy partner, and all these y'all and lines that you wouldn't hear the Sean Chan actually say. So, because most people can't do a Texan accent without doing certain words, That's where most people know their specific accents. They know specific words usually, unless you're good at them. But I'm really enjoying the accents that we're hearing for, I'm happy. It might not be perfect, but, they work so far for everybody outside of season 1 cast, I should say. Season 2, the accents, all the new voice accents we're hearing in season 2 work. Don't know about the way they mixed in season 1, but speaking of things, way people are talking about things, what about how well they spoke the dialogue and how well written was the dialogue there? What would you guys say?
I'd have to say it was really well written, because we did get exposition dumps without them feeling like exposition dumps.
Yes.
We got, the entire lowdown on basically the Forsaken. We got introduced to Giotto. We got Tel Riyadh and an explanation of that within the span of like a minute and a half, where she explained Tel Riyadh, which is a huge sort of thing. She was able to break it down.
Information. Yeah, you've got the threefold lance, the discussion of that. You've got the Elias explaining a lot of the stuff about being a wolf brother and what all that means. There's just so much data.
That guy plays a good surrogate father, because we watched him earlier this year playing a surrogate father on Andor.
Gary Beadle.
Gary Beadle played Clem on Andor.
He's very, very good, Elias. I do like that they've went a little more aggressive with his antisocial behavior. I know that frustrates you. I like it. It kind of sings to the book person in me, because when we first meet Elias, he is very, very antisocial. He does loosen up later, but he's very antisocial when we first meet him.
I got a good chuckle when he says, "I do miss beer." I thought that was like, okay, it's gonna be something you missed.
I'm back on the Layla was a dark friend wagon, by the way. I am 100% on that wagon.
Oh, interesting.
Because they are dropping hints throughout the season.
That was a stab in the heart when he said Layla was not your pack, and I was like, what the f***?
Yeah, neither was your wife.
Yeah.
Right.
And the way he said it, I'm like, okay, that combined with
how would you even know? Like, and I think that's giving a lot of like the subtle context to.
He's been sending for months. Aaron has.
Yeah.
So, they're picking up on things he wasn't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm like, yep, Layla's a dark friend. I'm sticking to it.
I agree. I've thought that since watching the pilot episode. that they were going with that, and I've argued that on Twitter a number of times and YouTube comments. I firmly
Not
believe
quite
that.
convinced.
If you go back to that episode and you freeze it, she is facing Perrin with that axe above her head, not the Trolloc, which is off to the side. She's facing Perrin. It's the only thing that allows her to get stabbed in the stomach. It's not from an angle, it's straight on because she's
Yep.
facing Perrin.
It's all
She's
in the
bringing that
blocking.
axe down on him.
It's
That's why
entirely
she
in
was
the
acting
blocking.
weird.
Mm,
I'm sticking to it this time.
I'll
I
agree
backed
with you
off
on
it
that.
when Rafe said it wasn't true, but I have since figured out Rafe doesn't always tell us the truth.
No, they don't.
that is-
No, they
Wait,
don't.
showrunners would try to misdirect us?
No.
I can't imagine that.
Well, I mean, I have been surprised several times, and I love every minute of it. So thank you.
So good. I
I mean,
really
Moraine popping out and cutting somebody's throat, straight up Gone Girl style. Thank you. That was awesome.
Gone Girl style. That was brutal.
It was great.
Gone Girl is the right way to put it. Did the actors deliver their lines well? I'd say yes. But more
Absolutely,
importantly,
yeah.
who would you call the best or worst actors, or best casting, worst casting? Make those separate categories if you want.
Why?
You can give up to 2 or 3 names.
Honestly, this episode, I'm going to give it to Rosamund Pike. I love the unbalanced Moraine finally getting a toe grip back onto the right path. I think the way she pulled that off, plus the ruthlessness of killing the horse. That is
Yeah.
some straight up strategic Moraine thinking.
There-
And she did it.
There was a
Just
simpler
quickly.
solution, though.
If you say take the horse with you, no, that would slow him down.
Or set it
Sorry.
free.
It wouldn't have slowed them down that
Maybe.
much. They already had the stable hand with them. That was slowing them down enough. And a horse without a
saying-
rider runs
I do think it
faster.
was a very deliberate act, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just like, oh, maybe you can find a horse. It's like, no, we are, like, we know you're coming. Like, I
Right.
feel like it was very calculated.
It
It was
was.
a very Moraine thing. And it goes to, I mean, let's not forget last season she was ready to cut Rand's throat.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think she's, the horse is going to bother
Yeah.
her that much? It upset her a little, and then she got over it real quick.
She's
Yeah.
the throat
And-
cutter.
Thankfully, she did, because
Yeah.
you saw what happened to the guy. Temple Popper head. So,
Temple
Yeah.
popper.
but yeah, I loved Maureen Pike. She went through pretty much every stage
Rosamund.
in this. Rosamund, what I say, Maureen?
Yes.
Like, I loved it.
Same
That's
thing.
very funny.
It was.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would love it too.
Rosamund
So
Pike.
wonderful.
Well, I listened to her audiobook version of The Wheel of Time as well as Kate and Michael's. I have them both, which is weird, but it's something I have to do when there's new Wheel of Time, even
Right.
with same story, different narrator.
Right. I can't wait till
So to
she
me,
finishes
she is
it.
more Rain. So
I want to wait till she finishes all of them and then listen to all of hers all together.
That's my plan.
I know
She's
it's gonna
good.
take years. It's gonna take years.
Actors for me this episode, right here, Mira Cial as Varen. Varen's the best. Varen is by far the bestest.
I
Aes
love
Sedai.
that plot line.
And her performance, Mira Cial, is just great. I gotta give credit, as always, to Kate Fleetwood. She's
Mm.
just
Mhm.
scary. She's been scary since the get-go, and she's so good at it. But she's also been giving, this last couple episodes, she's given this humanity to Leandrin that I never
very
expected.
vulnerable. Yeah.
I never expected. And I like that little touch there as she's walking back to the way gate. She turns and she does that little thing and frees Nynaeve's bonds, to give the girls a chance. I like that. And that was, I'm not sure exactly what her motivation on that was. I think it's mixed motivation, partially as a stick it to Surath, but also she still has a bit of a fondness for Nynaeve.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
Despite
was
I
her
think it's trying
mostly
to
it.
show that she was genuine in what she was trying to do before. Maybe she didn't necessarily have the instructions quite yet to bring them to Fama.
right.
Again, specifically Nynaeve. So, like, just all those and Nynaeve came and tried to save her son. So, like, she knows she's doing Nynaeve dirty, but she's like, oh, okay, like, not so dirty.
Yeah, I took it as frustration that she did this great, huge betrayal and broke her oaths and outed herself basically. And she
Mhm.
was expecting to meet Ishamael. And when it
Ooh,
was
yeah.
Lady Suroth, that bitch switch got flipped and she's like, So she's not leaving without at least getting her own.
Yeah.
And that was her way of sticking it to her and being like, well, we'll see who kneels to who.
So
That's just, it speaks so much to how conniving and backstabbing the Dark Friends are in the books. And like, they really
Hmm.
just, like, if they could all just stick to the plan and do what the plan is, then they probably would have succeeded. But the nature of Dark Friends and the way that the Dark One does, like, encourage them
To be
to
selfish, yeah.
be selfish, to be have like serve their self-interest. He doesn't want them colluding with each other because he's concerned that they will collude against him eventually to take him down, which, let's face it, Lanfear does. Um
If you know,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, you know. So, like, yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, and the way, like, she's just so subtle about it, and like the
Mhm.
Kate Fleetwood's face when she
That
like, you
jaw
know,
You know,
clench.
speaking of
so
Dark
much
Friends,
Oh,
satisfaction.
oh, I know.
how many of those soldiers and Suldam and all that was there with High Lady Sorath when she met with Leandrin, do you think were Dark Friends? Do you think all of them? None of them? Some maybe?
This is usually a big discussion from the books, and I feel like it will continue forward, is that, like, I don't necessarily know that they my headcanon is that they are not all Dark Friends, but they are just so used to obeying things and ignoring things that she probably does have some of them that are Dark Friends. Like, we know that the Soul Dam aren't in the books because the one that captures Egwene ends up with Mad eventually, and she's
Yeah,
not a Dark Friend. So we
right.
know for a fact that Soul Dam's not. They're just so, like, the High Blood is saying this. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna do what they say. They said some weird things, and, like, I don't know what this chosen shit is, and blah 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 blah. But
Who's this
whatever.
master they're talking about?
Yeah. It's the high. It's High Blood business.
I do love the fact that Miri, who is the really young Soldam, the one who
So,
actually ends up binding Egwene, she
okay.
looks sad in her eyes when she's looking down at her. She looks sad in her eyes. I
Huh.
swear, I watched it today again, and I'm like, she looks sad. I want to set Miri free. This is mean. And I hate them all the more because Miri, or Maggie Simpson, as I have called her,
You mean the Damane
is
then?
very sad.
You mean the Damane then? You said Soldam. You had me
Did I
confused
say
for a
Soldam?
second. Yeah,
Damani.
I was
Yeah,
confused for a second.
sorry.
I thought you were putting me in the one who put the
Yeah, I'm
collar on
having
her.
issues tonight.
That's fine. It happens. I do it all the time. I call it a brain fart.
I call it my mouth is faster than my brain sometimes.
Yes. So
You're like,
Leia,
I know
how
what I'm talking about, but
right?
this is what
Yeah.
I said.
So who do you think, who would you pick for your favorite 2 or 3 actors this episode?
So you guys have definitely hit some of my favorites. And then I think, and not to stereotype from being from Threefold Talk, but I love Evil Smart. Aviendha, like, you saw in the teaser trailer when she put up her veil, like, just that I'm gonna have so much fun with this grin, and how she was bullshitting with Perrin, like just like completely stringing him along, but having a
I,
serious conversation at the same time. Her ability, like, and I believe that like she didn't, I don't think she did the entire fight scene, but I think she did a significant portion of it. Maybe significant is the wrong word, but
a good
like
chunk.
her portrayal of the first Aiel that we saw was just like, it was so on point, and you could tell she was having so much fun with that character.
I
And again, I
loved
hate to be like I hate that like everybody's like, oh, like you only talk about the Aiel, but she, in addition to you
I
guys had
mean,
all the some of my other favorite ones. She was up there, like very high up there as one of the best performances
I
on this
loved her
episode.
laugh when Perrin tried pushing her behind him and tried to stand in front, like to protect her, and it was just she starts laughing, and I literally just
yeah,
started
You like to
chuckling.
dance, Erin Ibera.
I thought it was so funny that he's trying to protect her, and she's about to protect him.
And she got so frustrated and mad that he was throwing GA toe in her face and like the water bond. He's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but like
He
when
had a
he was
point.
trying to
he
save
gave you
Jane
water.
Bornhold, you could see that she's like, I just want to kill this guy.
I'll be better off if you did, to be honest.
Right.
Perrin's gonna regret that.
But I think she had the axe in her hand still as they left the camp. So it's possible it could end up in Perrin's hands.
That's what
Very
I'm
possible.
hoping. That's what I thought when I first saw Dane holding that axe.
Well, and
So,
he, in the books, in the Eye of the World, he does try to take Perrin's axe from him.
Yeah.
The one
Jarrett
that
Byer. Jarrett Byer
oh, was
takes.
it was fire.
It was by our, wasn't
It
it?
was
Yeah.
fire. You're right.
Any other actors anybody wants to mention? Anybody they think was terrible in the role? Or not the right casting?
No, I think
feel
this entire season I've only had one actor who didn't come off quite right, and that was the creepy warder that tried to
Last
talk to
week?
Nynaeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came off stiff
Awkward.
and awkward and creepy, borderline creepy. So that was my only complaint this season as far as the
Okay.
acting. So
yeah, I think everybody's done an amazing job. I love Maureen's younger sister. She's always amazing in everything that she does.
Lindsay Duncan is great.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I
And a
had her
lot of,
last week. She was at the top of my list.
and she's got a lot of stuff under her belt. She's in a lot of good stuff.
So many good things. I keep watching things. I think I watched something else this week and I was like, oh my God, yes. I can't remember what show it was, but it was like, oh, she's in it.
Yeah.
And she's always exquisite.
So, of the themes present in the episode, are any what ones caught your eye or your attention? What do you think of those themes, and are they relevant to the books or events happening in real life?
Now Glenn will go last on this one because he tends to expound.
Yeah.
So we always let him go last. As for me, I'm gonna go with balance. Whether it be in or out, everybody who was sort of out of balance and not on the right path found their way onto that path, and everybody who seemed to be on the right path sort of went off the path. So every single character either found their way back on to a path or got shoved off a path. So, I mean, yeah, balance, I think, was a big one for this episode. Moraine found her way back. Rand found his way off way more. Wonder Girls absolutely got pushed off their path, 100%. Perrin got pushed on to his path thanks to Hopper and meeting a certain someone.
Right.
Iola Smart is just that casting. Mwah. So yeah, I'd go with balance. That was my major theme that I picked out.
Leia?
think discovery and communication, they're a little bit hand in hand, but there was a lot of very counter to what Wheel of Time typically does. There was actually a lot of communication between the characters, and discovery of information, discovery of personal motivations, discovery of personal boundaries. Um, yeah, just
I think I
Yeah.
saw on Twitter after the first episode, somebody said the biggest change from the books is that Perrin is writing letters. They're actually communicating.
yeah.
I'm
Right?
like that's true.
They can communicate, and you
But they're
notice,
not within limitations.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Like he's obviously not being like, yeah, like I can talk to wolves.
right?
anybody else notice that when Perrin's eyes went golden when he was being shown the Uno image, he started sniffing?
Yes.
No,
Kinda
I
like
didn't notice
the
Yeah,
the
he straight up did
subtitles.
the wolf sniff. Yeah,
The subtitles even
he
describe it.
started doing it. I'm like, yes.
I haven't checked out audio description yet on the show, but I noticed the subtitles did describe the sniff there when he did that.
Speaking of the audio description, Amazon, if you happen to see this, you don't have them for any of your X-ray behind the scenes stuff. So you're cutting a
Oh,
lot of people out here. So please add that. Thank you.
Thank
good
you.
note. Good note.
Please, thank you. I have plenty of people who use it. And I've actually used audio description myself watching shows. I'll watch a show through once, and then I'll go back and watch it with the AD on, and I actually pick up details that weren't completely clear from what you actually see, but when they identify stuff like, oh, okay, so that was what I thought it might be. Themes the one that I really picked up on was the idea of trust. Everybody's either having to show some amount of trust or showing reason why they shouldn't have any trust. I mean, it's straight there in the open. They even talked about it between Ishii and Lanfear. You gonna betray me? And she's like, obviously.
Obviously.
It's like, yeah. Rand's having to find some amount of trust in Moiraine, who in turn is having to put some trust in her sister.
And Rand.
And Rand. And now at this point, Barthanes. We'll see how that plays out.
See, I have a theory about that where I'm not convinced that Barthanes is the dark friend as he is in the book. I think his mother is.
That would make so much sense.
That's how the house recovered from the Layman situation so quickly.
Wow.
So I think instead of having him the dark friend, they're going to have her own sister end up being the dark friend.
Or do you think it's the queen?
Or
both.
Ooh, that would be even better. Very Game of Houses.
Yeah, both. Ooh.
Both, yeah.
Very Daystamar. Yeah.
Which I be the title of the next episode.
Is it?
And you heard it here first, guys. Bill's theory that, and if it turns out that Anver is the dark friend, Bill called it first. So we'll have to remember that.
Fascinating.
And if I'm wrong, you can all roast me. I'm okay with that too.
Well, it would just be another Dana situation where you just kind of love this character, but they're a dark friend. Like, you love dark friends.
I love seeing that knife go through her throat more.
I was nervous that they were going to do the possible Shariam reveal so early, and I was like, what the?
Yeah, and then she worked the compulsion, and I'm like, oh, I see where you're going. Yeah. And I gotta say, I love watching the people who have never read the books watch the show because they are in love with Varen, and she is the Black Aja vanquisher. I'm like, yes.
I really hope they stick with that throughout the show. I really hope that's something that they don't change. Man, and I hope we're able to preserve that detail for the non-book readers, so we get the kind of
got to be a warder.
Yeah, the of course, I always hate referring to Game of Thrones because like it ends up being a complete shit show. But the Red Wedding reveal, the non-book readers, like their reactions to the Red Wedding versus like the people who read the books are like, ah, and the people who hadn't read it were like,
Rushed.
yeah, just like we knew it was coming, they didn't, and the difference between like everybody was freaked out, but still.
We had cell phone cameras on a friend of ours who had not read the books when the Red Wedding happened, and he had no idea that everybody in the room was videotaping, was filming him watching that. He had no clue because we're all just sitting there waiting.
Like, now you know why I was depressed for a month 2 years ago. Now you know why.
Right.
And I hope we can preserve that for the non-book reader Wheel of Time fans.
Any other themes anybody wanted to bring up? Anything from their notes that they wanted to bring up?
Serious obsession with Natasha O'Keefe and that Step on Me goth outfit at the very end. Dear God, yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh, she looked so good. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. She just looked land fear.
Screamed.
Oh, just so land fear. It was.
So was anybody surprised that torture wheel turned out to be Tellerunreoid?
No. I think
we
all knew that.
That's what I figured it was the first time I ever saw it. That it was going to be.
We all were like, wait a minute. That definitely seems like something either Cimaraj or Lanfear would think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be either one.
It doesn't fit in real life. Like, what? There's no way.
I mean, not that I'm against Rand being chained up with his abs popping out like that. I mean,
right. Sure.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I have anything else in my notes. Was that tattooing on Turak's scalp, or is that
scarification?
Scars. That is,
and it's,
I could tell.
Duroth also has some.
Yeah,
he has.
I just couldn't tell if those were tattoos or scars. I wasn't sure.
Scars, yeah, it was scarification.
I think they're scars that are meant to be like tattoos, so like almost like not quite branding, but like deliberate cuts made to make decorative scarring.
Yeah.
Whatever that's. I know there's a word for that. I just don't.
Yeah, it's tribal scarification.
Okay.
They get it for specific points in their life. At least here in our world,
real world.
I'm assuming it's probably pretty close to something like that. And
yeah, I know.
Land.
Some African tribes do that. And then I think a couple of Native American tribes did that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leia, for coming on. It's always great having you on, and it's fun talking about Wheel of Time and, get away from the Expanse for a little bit because, and branch out. It's good having you on here. And Bill, as always, thank you for joining the team. Thank you guys at home for watching. Please come back next week as we discuss episode 206. You said Dace Daymar, Bill? Is that what it is? Dace Daymar?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Leia said. I just repeated.
Leia, I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. Come back next week, and don't forget to be awesome.